I'm Pamela Portnoy.
I'm Alexa Marie Anderson.
And no one's okay. We are back. Hi, guys. We are so happy. We have our first guest of the year joining us, and I couldn't be more thrilled about who it is. We have the wonderful Parker York Smith joining us, the Looksmith himself, and he is here to talk about clothing and styling ideas and how you would approach dressing characters and dressing for auditions and kind of all things fashion and art and creativity. Is
Totally.
that fair?
That's super fair. Yeah,
Okay.
I think that pretty much nails it. I mean, we'll get more into it, of course, but it is such an important part of everything that I don't think gets overlooked, but it's definitely something to be considered, even if you don't consider yourself the most fashionable person. I still think you should be conscious of it.
For sure, especially when you are in a with any field, really. I think how you present yourself is super important, but when you're creating people different from yourself, it really is a helpful tool, I feel.
It's very visual, our career path, so I think it's very important.
Yeah, well, and I think that, like Pam said, it's very important to recognize that you're embodying someone. So putting on clothes isn't necessarily only about how you're presenting to the outside world. It also is a lot about how it affects you internally as well, which I don't think people necessarily realize.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So before we dive in, Parker, do you want to tell our listeners how you got started doing what you do?
Sure.
And how we met and all that stuff, good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So I am originally from Cincinnati, Ohio. I moved to Los Angeles a little over 11 years ago to honestly just kind of get out of Ohio. It was a very fun upbringing, but kind of a closed-minded upbringing because I've always really been into fashion and kind of expressing myself through how I dress and how I present myself. So I moved here with the intention of kind of dabbling in acting and seeing if I could make it happen for myself, and pursued that for the first maybe 5 or so years that I was here. Pam and I met on a web series called Pretty Dumb, which was super fun. It was probably the most involved project that I ever worked on personally in terms of, I think just in terms of longevity of working on the same character for weeks or even months at a time, I thought was really fun. I totally understood being on a television show, how it could be so fun to be able to just be the same character on such a recurring basis. But anyway, I was pursuing acting and, had very minimal success, like a couple little co-star roles and stuff like that, which was fantastic, but ultimately sort of realized that I was kind of pursuing it for the wrong reasons. And it really maybe wasn't exactly what I personally wanted. And my now wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, had met people who were working in fashion and men's fashion on social media, like what we now call an influencer. We didn't really have that term 6 years ago or whatever, 5 years ago. And I just slowly but surely started posting pictures of my outfits on the internet, and one thing led to another, and it's turned into a full-blown career that we have a family business, and it's turned into something that I kind of realized is sort of what I wanted out of acting personally, for me. So it's been fantastic.
That's very cool.
That's so wonderful. And I do want to say, Parker is extremely talented as an actor. So I do want to add that there. So he's crazy talented and going to be an excellent contributor to the discussion. But also, I remember the day that you and Jacqueline told me that you were kind of deviating into fashion and pursuing the now influencer kind of career path. And it has been nothing but a pleasure and so exciting watching you grow your audience and how you've like been evolving all your videos. It's been like the coolest thing to watch, because I remember the day like you were like, oh yeah, I think I'm gonna do this, and now like I don't know how many years it's been, like 5-6 years now.
Yeah.
It's fucking badass. You're killing it.
Oh, I appreciate that so much. I really do. It's awesome. Yeah, it's pretty weird because we do it every day, so it's easy to kind of get caught up in the daily monotony of everything. In the same way as with your acting career, you just have to really be kind of nose down and just really work as super hard as you can. And it really made it clear to me how important it is to just create your own lane. That was always something that was told to us in our acting classes and things like that. Like you gotta make your own stuff. You gotta do your own thing. And yeah, it's true. It's just like, that's really the only avenue. Cause I know, like, again, probably right around when we were doing Pretty Dumb, which was what, like 2014, 2015,
something around there.
That was kind of right when people, even like acting teachers, were starting to say, like, you got to work on your following. You got to start paying attention to social media. It's becoming essential if you want to get jobs. And I was kind of like, I pushed against that really hard because I was, I was about my craft and being as talented as an actor, and that was going to speak for me. And so I pushed against it really hard, and then eventually started to realize, like, okay, I don't really have a choice here. I have to at least give this some attention. And then again, it just I started to recognize that all of those good feelings that I was getting from a really good scene, I was starting to get from different places, and I could control them a little bit more. So it just worked out.
That's wonderful
for me a little bit differently.
I absolutely love that.
Yeah, I would love to, like, pursue, or the door's not completely closed there. It's probably about 80 or 90% closed, but who knows what'll happen, as I've learned in
you never know
last year.
Anything can truly happen if we've learned anything.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's for sure. Where did you come up with the idea for the Looksmith, and how has it kind of evolved over time?
Sure. Well, kind of like I said, I originally just was posting. I bought a camera and a tripod and a little remote and was just taking photos of my everyday outfits. And then when the things started to pick up traction, we realized that we wanted to create something that was a little bit more, because, in the social media world, you have to have a little bit of a kitschy name. That's oftentimes like what people gravitate towards. So I wanted it to be identifiable, and we kind of sat and worked out tons of different options. And eventually I think Jacqueline finally nailed down the Looksmith, which was obviously like a locksmith kind of play on words,
and your last name
and my last name.
Yeah, it ties everything in. It's amazing.
Yeah, I know. It was really fortunate because it has been able to be just like a super fun little instantaneous thing that people, because I don't even really, it's the name of my website and it's on my Instagram profile, but I don't really use it a lot. Like, we have it trademarked and stuff like that, but like so it just started that way, and I started writing about stuff. I went to school for journalism in college, so it was kind of already a little bit of a natural avenue for me to do writing, and then now since then we've moved on into doing YouTube videos and stuff like that. So I know all about like video production and editing and things like that. So it was kind of a lucky thing for me to have studied and been able to sort of naturally transition into.
Yeah.
I would say that. Oh, go.
Oh, sorry. I just had a quick question. I'm going off book. I'm going off book. Do you have any advice for anyone wanting to start their own thing, especially starting out on Instagram? I know it's an art.
Yeah.
It's like totally an art. So do you have any advice for people wanting to?
To be honest, the only thing that really is going to separate you now is just being yourself, and really, really leaning into that as hard as you possibly can, even though it may be so uncomfortable, especially for actors, because a lot of times I know they are in acting to not be themselves a whole lot, which I get completely. But with Instagram, you just have to be consistent. You have to be willing to put in a lot of time, and you have to be out there engaging with what else is out there, not only to get your name some recognition, but also to just kind of understand what's already out there, so you can hopefully try to transition a little bit into a different path or a different lane that's still, kind of within the same realm. Honestly, I've been spending a lot of my time on TikTok lately, which is tough as well. I mean, it's a lot more fun because if you have good content, you can build an audience a lot quicker there right now. It's kind of how Instagram was 7-8 years ago. To be completely honest, Instagram is my main source of income, so I will always have a soft spot for it, but it is definitely a lot tougher right now. It's a lot more established. They make it a lot more difficult to grow. So spending a little bit more time on TikTok or maybe even on YouTube or things like that might actually be a little bit of a smarter move, if I'm honest. Especially with TikTok, because people are actually a little bit more willing to go from TikTok to your other platforms. Whereas with Instagram, people are very Instagram loyal. So building an audience there is difficult, but then also getting them to transition into watching your YouTube or watching your TikTok is a lot more difficult than it would be in the opposite direction. So
that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I wish that I had like a clear-cut path, but it's changing so regularly that it's just like, unfortunately, I think getting out there, especially for actors, putting together little things and just like monologues or sketches or whatever, and putting content out there as often as you possibly can, and having zero concern of whether or not it's the next big thing, because if it's not good, it's not going to be bad for you, but if it is good, it will be very good for you, if that makes sense.
It absolutely does. And I think I mentioned this to you last time I ran into you, I think at the Grove. One thing that I love about following you, because I love following both you and Jacqueline in general, because you guys are freaking hilarious. But you guys put in so much effort into the posts you make. I think you told me usually when you do an ad or something like that, their requirements aren't that in depth. I know they probably are different brand to brand and stuff like that, but the requirements aren't that intense. But you will flat out make a full blown commercial because you are naturally creative, and that is who you are and how you like to express yourself. And that's what, in my opinion, makes you stand out.
Thank you. Yeah, I completely agree. I think going above and beyond the requirements is kind of just a good theme in general. Being able to put your natural personal touches on everything you do, whether it's making choices in the audition room or getting an assignment, and I've always felt, or not always, I've unfortunately learned this probably a lot more in the social media world than I ever knew as an actor, was make them tell you that's not what they want. Be so defined in your choice that they have to almost reel you in a little bit, as opposed to trying to fit perfectly into this mold that you think that they want, and then they just they glaze right over you because you're not interesting to them whatsoever.
Absolutely. That's so interesting. While we have you here, I think it's pertinent to the situation to ask you some fashion questions particularly in regards to building characters and auditioning. Definitely. So how do you think choosing wardrobe kind of adds to your confidence?
Huge. It's massive. I mean, even whether you're going in for a generic commercial audition or you're going in for a super character-y type role for The Rookie or whatever, popular guest star show there is right now, putting together the right outfit is not only going to help you feel a lot more confident in yourself because you spent more time engaging with that character. It's just going to also it can help you embody it so much more too. If you're going in for a street thug or whatever, you're not going to want to wear the wrong thing that not only is going to present you not at all as that, but you're also just not going to feel it. So I think at least having a general understanding of fashion and the way that you can wear different things to sort of accomplish different emotional vibes, it's really, really important.
I was thinking about this while I was watching Bridgerton. Have you gotten the chance to see that show yet? Okay,
So
I'm only
good.
2 episodes in. Do not spoil it. But it's so good. I was thinking about this. I'm like, they are carrying themselves like they did in the time, but it has a lot to do with the fact that they are strapped into these tight gowns and corsets. I'm like, it makes a huge difference how it feels against your body.
Yes.
Their wardrobe.
You have to like breathe differently and everything.
Yeah. Talk, breathe.
Yeah.
The way you're delivering your lines is going to be different because of the fact that your breath is going to be different. It's so funny for me to say all this stuff because it's like I feel like what I used to hear my acting teachers say, they say all these things and it's sort of one in one ear out the other because you're like, okay, cool, like I get it, but it's so true. It really is because and again, going back to making a choice, like if you're going in for a Bridgerton audition, you don't need to literally wear a 17th century costume, but putting yourself in a suit and tie or whatever, presenting yourself that way, you're just going to carry your body a little bit. Like you physically will be, you'll walk in the room differently than if you're wearing a jeans and a t-shirt or whatever.
100%.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of the times I think a lot of casting rooms, Alexa, correct me if I'm wrong, Parker, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like audition rooms, like they don't really like it when you come in with like an on the nose costume. They kind of want you to allude to the character more than anything. And so I was thinking about this when I was watching that show. I was like, maybe you could even do it kind of in secret. Like you could maybe tie like a tight belt underneath your clothes to like keep you like whatever. I think not only, having like a suit on or a dress on, something like simple to allude to it helps, but like having a little secret that could like help with your wardrobe.
That's cool. That's I like that a lot because that's also fashion wise. It's not necessarily always about everything that everyone else can see with your outfit, like even knowing your belt matches your shoes or little like fashion rules that aren't necessarily the most obvious thing to people, but they're those small little touches that, like, for me, it's sort of a pet peeve of mine if I know that a certain little piece of my outfit is like off. And it's going to be, even though it may be subconscious, it's definitely going to be in my mind. And I love that idea. I think that's really smart.
I think about that a lot with like undergarment, with like, did I just say undergarments? Like underwear?
Bridgerton lingo.
It's really sticking with me. Because on obviously I haven't been seeing much of people, but like choosing like what underwear I'm going to wear, like if it's a cuter pair or not, like it really does change my mood.
Totally. Absolutely.
Yeah. So interesting.
Yep.
Same
goes
see.
For guys.
Oh yeah. What secret with underwear?
I mean, if you're going in for like a super nerdy character, like
tighty whities,
wearing some tighty whities, just to get yourself in that mode, I think that's cool. I think that to me is what's going to set you apart from everybody else, because again, you're just going to bring,
you're going to feel
something a little bit different. And there's countless stories from the A-list actors when you hear them interviewed or whatever about a certain role, and you're like, whoa, I had no idea Brad Pitt was making that choice or doing that little thing that we never even hear or see or know about, but it's just making the smallest little adjustment to his performance, which turns him into who he is.
100%.
And kind of going off of this too, like, because I think I get stuck in my head with this a lot too. Like, are there certain textures or colors that are best for camera? Because I know what to wear, but then sometimes I'm like, wait, is this gonna look the way I think it's going to look? and then I second guess myself.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's
We're like, Parker, dress us, please.
Yeah, just I'm just gonna be calling you every time I have an audition.
Perfect. You can FaceTime me at 555.
Right.
It's tough because most modern cameras are not really like, I know even 5, especially 10 years ago and beyond that, like they told you, never wear plaid, never wear these because it like gets busy on the camera. But I would avoid super loud colors or super intense plaid patterns and stuff like that. But for the most part, to be completely honest, I mean, even because like even if a casting room is just using like an iPhone, even the camera on that is not going to get bothered by a pattern anymore.
Okay.
Most of the technology is good enough now that it's not going to matter a whole lot. But if it's something that is in your mind, just go with something a little bit more simple. Instead of a plaid shirt, wear a solid colored shirt, or instead of a bright neon green, go with a darker shade of that color or whatever it is. I think that's just always a smarter rule. And again, even if it's not necessarily affecting camera, if you're wearing a lime green shirt, there's a good chance that will distract from what you're trying to get across anyway.
How do you feel about like jewelry? Because I was always told not to wear any jewelry because that could be distracting.
Jewelry's tough because
Yeah.
I think it really depends on the character you're going in for. Because to me, jewelry is kind of a great thing where, like, again, if I was going in for like a little bit of a bad boy type character or something like that, wearing a couple of rings and a necklace is an easy way to put myself in that mode.
Yeah.
That's not going to be overly I mean, like, again, I wouldn't necessarily go with like some big giant chain or whatever.
But something subtle that,
yeah. And I think, again, to kind of reiterate a little bit of what I was saying before, like, make the choice, go in, and if it's a casting director that you're comfortable with, or even just go in and have it on and be like, hey, before we start, like, is this too much? Do you like kind of involving them in the process and being genuinely interested in what they have to say, I think is really smart.
Yeah,
because they're going to be a lot more appreciative of the fact that you're looking at them as more than just the reader or whatever.
For sure. They're your acting partner in that particular moment as well.
For sure.
Your collaborator. That makes a lot of sense. I think we have one more for you as far as fashion goes, and then we have a couple of extra questions.
Cool.
What wardrobe essentials do you think every actor should hang on to or have in their closet or try to build into their repertoire?
Okay. That's a little bit of a tough one, if I'm honest, just because it's going to depend a lot on your type. So if, like, do you guys have more of a male, do you have a pretty split audience? Is it pretty female centric, pretty male?
We have both. We have both.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So, I mean, for ladies, like, if you're the type to often be going in for the substitute teacher, the kindergarten teacher, those types of a little bit more, I'm going to say blue collar roles. I don't know if that's correct or politically correct or anything. But simple blazer, a couple different like blouse type shirts, things that are a little bit more on the dressy side, but aren't going to be like executive dressy. Whereas then if you're going in for executive type roles, having those things that you would sort of stereotypically expect to see, and go watch the popular shows, and I mean, it's hard because like wardrobe staples are one thing. because what I was going to say is like, go watch the show and just dress like the characters, but it's not everyone has the time, money, and opportunity to like go get clothes all the time, obviously. So I think it's just understanding your type as much as possible and getting things that look good and make you feel your best, that are also going to be in line with what you're going out for, because that's another huge thing that for me, I always kind of butted heads with, was what I was sort of expected to be as an actor, what character I was supposed to be. And I think it sort of hindered my success a lot, because I wanted to be one thing, and the industry, so to speak, wanted me to be a different thing. So if you're willing to lean into what you're expected to be, I think just really understanding that. So like for guys, if you're a bad boy type guy, like having a leather jacket and some white t-shirts isn't a bad idea. Whereas if you're a plumber type guy or whatever, like a denim jacket and some t-shirts, or a denim jacket and a flannel shirt, or things like that, that are a little bit stereotypical, but it's just kind of going in and fitting that character as well as you can without being too jokey about it.
Totally.
Yeah.
I love these answers so much.
That was very helpful.
Very helpful. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
We mentioned that you've been watching Bridgerton. What else have you been watching? What would you say is like the ideal combo of like cocktail to snack to binge watching ratio? What have you guys been watching?
I'm always so bad at this because we watch so much stuff, especially now. We just finished Bridgerton. It's fantastic.
I'm so excited about it.
Highly recommend. I just saw today that the showrunner is ready to do like 8
seasons. I saw that too.
Oh my God.
Which is fine by me.
Amazing.
I'd love to see all of the characters grow in that show. We are rewatching The OC, which is fantastic. Love it. We've been watching. We watch a lot of we're big like true crime, murder people. So all that stuff. We watched The Ripper on Netflix, which is very good if you're into that kind of thing.
I actually haven't even seen anything on that one.
It's just like a 4-part documentary series about this guy in the 70s in England who was
Jack the Ripper?
Jack the Ripper, right?
Okay.
Well, not the original. The original Jack the Ripper was in the 1800s, and then this guy was kind of like a copycat in the 1980s, 70s, 80s. So if you're down for true crime type stuff, it's worth your time.
Too spooky to watch like alone?
I don't think so, but at the same time,
keep a light on.
Yeah, maybe.
You might have to sleep with the light on.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to think what else. I don't know. What have you guys been watching? I'm trying to we see most everything, especially like the mainstream popular stuff.
For sure. Bridgerton for sure. I've been doing I shouldn't even be ashamed because it's a thing. I've been just watching a lot of reruns. I've been watching a lot of West Wing and Newsroom because it really is like fantasy at this point. I know we don't get into that, but yeah, West Wing and Newsroom really have been making me feel good, and Bridgerton's great. What else? You've been watching a lot, Alexa. You've been watching a lot of movies.
I've been watching a lot of movies. I did start Bridgerton, so I literally 1 episode in, so I haven't even felt the impact yet, but I can't wait.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been watching a lot of films. I just watched Pieces of a Woman, which was really, really good. Really, really beautiful. I recommend that. Yeah, just kind of, and I rewatching things as well, honestly. My sister hadn't seen Schitt's Creek, and so she started rewatching it, and I was like, oh, now I have to go back and watch the first season again.
Good.
Schitt's Creek was my big show this past year because I hadn't seen it up until 2020. So that was a pleasure to binge. Yeah. Oh, and The Crown, of course. I love that.
That's a good one.
We haven't watched that yet. I definitely plan on doing a deep dive binge of that one eventually.
Wonderful.
Yay.
Are we? Do you think we're ready, Alexa, for
ready.
the critical?
Yeah. Do you want to do the honors, Pam?
Should I?
You should do it.
Parker,
I'm nervous. What's
Parker,
happening?
Are you okay?
I mean, no, not really. If I'm honest.
That was an amazing. I think that's the best answer we just got. Like,
I literally almost did a spit take.
Yeah.
Love that answer. What's going on, Parker? Why aren't you okay?
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sick of being at home. I'm super ready to do some traveling. I'm ready to be able to see people guilt-free. I just am like, I don't know, it's an ongoing thing every day of like being honest with myself about the realistic trauma of all of this, and like also then checking myself with the fact that my life is fine and I still have a job that I love, and all of the things that I'm fortunate for, but still I'm faced with craziness, and I'm still a little speechless about it, honestly, because it's hard for me to wrap my head around.
100%. And I think it's completely valid to feel all the shittiness kind of like hanging heavy from this past year, regardless of like knowing that we have good lives, we have roofs over our heads, and like things are going well. Like, I feel like there's a lot of shame with like, oh, I shouldn't complain. But like the truth is, like, feelings are valid.
Yeah.
And like social interaction is crucial. We're social creatures, human beings.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And so it's really taxing.
Yeah. How about you ladies? What's it been like with the industry? Like, are you getting self-tape opportunities? What's happening?
It's slowed down a lot,
but
occasionally we do.
Mm-hmm.
I just helped Alexa with an audition a couple days ago.
Nice.
Did. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome.
And
I wasn't fishing for gratitude.
I'm constantly helping. We're like each other's like audition buddies. Like we hop on Skype and Zoom and we're like, can you read this with me? Help me, please. So we've been doing that for each other, which has been really nice. It's nice to have someone to go to.
Yeah, I'm sure it would be. But I think now, if ever, if you're on the fence of like starting to do your own thing or whatever it is, like do it, make it, write it, just start doing anything, because even if it doesn't go anywhere, the physical, I know for me, being able to create on a daily basis is pretty much one of the very few things keeping me sane right now. So if you're frustrated by what's going on, just start making.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I agree.
Couldn't Alexa.
Agree more. Yeah.
Alexa. You listening? Okay, ready? Are you okay?
No.
Okay.
I'm certainly not okay. Yeah, I think I can go off of what Parker said, just feeling a little stuck, especially being a dancer as well. I feel very confined. I need to like move in a giant space. That's what my body wants to do right now, and I can't do that. So that's been really hard for me. There's a lot of dancing happening in my apartment, but there's not a whole lot of space, so I feel a little claustrophobic right now, but getting through, thankful for the things that I have, but definitely in need of some studio time if I can ever get it again.
100%.
Yeah. So, but Pam?
Yes.
Are you okay?
No. This morning was a clusterfuck of just like, I was struggling so hard to get myself ready. I was like it was a tornado in my apartment, just like because I didn't sleep much last night at all. But now I'm better than okay, because I always feel like better after we podcast, and B, like, Parker, you have been such a breath of fresh air to my morning. I'm so happy that we had you on the show.
Oh, thank you. That's so nice to hear. Yeah, it's been really fun. It's nice to just be able to, I spent so many years having these long-winded conversations about acting and things like that. And it's been so many years now that I have not had those. So it's fun to be able to kind of reminisce on that stuff and carry over some of the things that I've learned in this social media world into hopefully helpful stuff.
Very helpful.
People.
No,
I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I'm glad. Good.
So happy you joined us. Thank you so much. Where can our listeners follow you? Do you have anything coming up that you want to tell them about? Tell them what to do. Guys, follow him. Do what he says. Yes. Go, Parker.
Do it. Yeah, I mean, on Instagram, you can follow me at Parker York Smith. And pretty much any Facebook, or not Facebook. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Parker York Smith. Just, we mainly focus on men's fashion that isn't necessarily specifically actor driven, but I mean, just, I think understanding as much as you possibly can about it in general is going to be helpful, not only for your characters, but also for your personal confidence. So just come follow along if you want to learn different techniques to be looking your best, different combinations of things to be wearing together that you might not otherwise think of, or just if you're a little bit interested in seeing someone who is creating random stuff on a regular basis because you're interested in doing the same thing or whatever. I'm always wide open for questions and things like that. I love having conversations about how you can be achieving different looks, or, if it's for a specific audition and you're curious about it and you want to ask a question, that's fantastic. You can DM me. Nothing specific coming out, but there's new stuff virtually every day. So
that's true.
Stay tuned and hopefully enjoy.
That, you guys, I can't recommend his Instagram page enough. I know he mainly focuses on like men's style, but honestly, I thoroughly enjoy following him. And Jacqueline, you guys are hilarious and you make like super creative content. And honestly, like, I don't know if it's like the algorithm or whatever, but you guys are always like some of the first ones to pop up because I love following you guys so much.
We love to hear that. That's perfect.
Woo!
Yay.
Thank you for joining us, Parker.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a blast.
Yay. See you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all the things. If for some reason you want to see more of us, you can follow us on Instagram at No One's Okay.
And a special thanks to Jordan Ross Weinhold, Sean Moore, Jason Crow, Claire Palmer, Jackson Palmer, Tiffany Haymoff, Shane Rings, James Liddell, and our podcast is recorded at Soundworks Studios.
We can't wait to meet you!